I guess, why is it that it's so hard to commit to the goal? And how do you strengthen your commitment to a goal once you've created it?
And that's a really important set of questions there, because that really does matter, right? We've all have made goals that then we're excited about, but then a couple of days later, we just find ourselves not doing anything in the pursuit of that goal. So here's where science can really help us. First of all, there's a lot of science on goal setting from a number of scientific disciplines. The first thing we know from the now hundreds of research studies on this topic is that goals do matter. That goals, especially within a sales context, people that set clear, specific goals are much more likely to have higher performance than those who don't or have very general goals. So specific goals does make a difference. How do you strengthen your commitment to it? And that is a big problem. When you look at the research on goal setting, it's very clear that one of the main reasons why we don't achieve our goals is because of a lack of commitment to them. So what can we do about that? Two quick things that science tells us that all of us can do to strengthen that commitment and strengthen our resolve in achieving our goals. First thing is really think through the why of a goal, meaning think through. Research shows that when you think about, okay, why do I really want to achieve this goal? What would it really mean for me if I do? The stronger your why, the stronger your commitment. And when you feel your commitment kind of waning a little bit, as that does happen sometimes, right? There's a lot of factors that influence us on a daily basis. You can remind yourself of that why. Okay, that's why I care about this goal. And if you find that you don't have a strong why for a goal, then I would question, is that a goal you even want to consider, right? If you don't have a strong why, it's a way to qualify your goals to make sure you're only setting those goals that are really going to make an impact, because we have a limited amount of time and attention we can give to anything. And so you want to make sure your goals, you're laser focused on this is really what I care about. So when you achieve those goals, they matter. They improve your life. I know all of us, I know I have set goals, and then when I achieve them, I go, I didn't really mean anything, did it? Right? So you realize, well, I really shouldn't have spent all my time pursuing this, because when I achieved it, it really didn't matter. So what is your why? The second thing you can do to really strengthen your resolve regarding any goal, science says, is tell other people. There's quite a bit of research on this as well. One meta-analysis that looked at a number of different scientific studies on goal setting found that one of the main things you can do to really strengthen your commitment is to tell other people about your goal. Now, I want to real quickly muddy the water, because we have some really astute listeners to this podcast, and some of them might say, well, I've heard that sometimes telling people doesn't really make a difference. And you're right. Now, let me explain what's going on there. So a couple of years ago, there was a study that came out, a scientific study, and they said that when you tell people about your goals, it doesn't make an impact. So what's going on there? Why do we have a bunch of studies that say telling people matters and a study that says it really doesn't? And for people that don't read the research, that read articles about the research, they go, well, what do I do? Well, if you read the research, the answer is clear. But there was a study that just came out earlier this year that really clarified this as well. And the answer is both are true. Both are true. So what does that mean? What the research agrees on is telling other people makes a difference unless you don't care about what those other people think. So it's who you tell. I'll give you an example. I was talking to a sales leader not that long ago, and he kind of shared, I never tell my friends about my goals, because I know if I don't achieve them, they'll be like, oh, don't worry, we still love you. I said, well, okay. That makes sense, right? And also, he didn't care what his friends thought about him, right? He knows they're going to accept him no matter what. So what the research shows is who you tell matters a great deal. So you want to tell people whose opinions you value, meaning you don't want to lose face with that person. If you just tell someone like, well, I don't care what he thinks, my brother-in-law, I don't care what he thinks, he's an idiot anyway, right? Then it's not going to do anything. But if you tell someone whose opinion you value, the research is quite conclusive. It makes a noticeable difference. So discover your why, Really think about that and then remind yourself of it. That'll strengthen your resolve. And then also tell people whose opinions you matter. The science is pretty clear on that. That will also, when you feel your motivation going down, you're like, no, I told him I would do it, or I told her I was going to do this. So it'll give you that little extra boost of motivation that we all need sometimes. So those are two ways science says will help you stay committed and make strong commitments to your goals.
So let's say hypothetically, created a goal that I really thought about the why. I come back to it. I told people that that's opinion matters to me. How do I stay focused on that goal and continue to move in ways that lead me towards achieving that goal, knowing that distractions are going to come up, other priorities are going to come up throughout the course of a year, 2 years, 6 months, whatever that time frame may be for the goal? How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's really important. When you look at the literature on goal setting and you hear people talk about goals, they'll often talk about this. Some people will say, for example, that when they started writing their goals down every day, they made huge improvements in their achievement of those goals. And people will say, the more I thought about it, the more I started to see things in my life that I hadn't noticed before that could help me achieve the goal. So what's going on there? Again, science gives us a lot of clarity here, right? Our brains are attention misers, meaning your brain can only focus really on one thing at one time. And your brain is really good at filtering out everything that happens around you. If a brain didn't do this, we couldn't do anything. So our brain filters out almost all the stimuli around us. But when you focus on your goals and when you keep them front of mind, it tells your brain they are important. And people will often say, I start to see things I didn't notice. I'll give you a quick example. Many years ago, when I first got into sales, my wife and I bought a car, and it was the most money either of us had ever spent on a car before. And I noticed something really interesting. After I bought the car, I started seeing that make and model of car everywhere I went. And I'm like, there's one, there's one, there's one. And I never noticed this before. And I thought that was kind of odd. I mean, maybe everyone just started buying the car when I did. But the real answer is the cars were always there. My brain just filtered it out because I really didn't care. But when I had spent all that money on it, and when I had thought about the car and pondered, should I buy it? All of a sudden, I told my brain, hey, this really matters. And so everywhere I went, my brain was calling my attention to the same car here and here and here and here. So that is kind of represents a little bit what the neuroscience tells us regarding goals. The more you can keep your focus on them, the more you're going to see ways to achieve them and the more likely you are. So what are practical ways you can do that? I mentioned one that a lot of successful people do. Well, they'll write their goals down every day. And they say that keeps their focus on them. And there's good neuroscience. That's what you want to do. I'll tell you what I do personally. I don't write my goals down every day. What I do is I put them in my bathroom right above my sink, right next to the mirror. So I see my goals in the morning and I always see them at night right before I go to bed. And they're right there. And so I'll read over them when I'm getting ready in the morning and then at night. So they're always in front of me constantly. Every day I'm having numerous exposure to my goals, and that keeps them front of mind. And keeping your focus on your goals really is mission critical, because the more you do that, you will start to say, okay, I see different things, ways that can help me achieve the goals that I never noticed before. And all that is, we need to tell your brain it's important. And when you need to do that day after day, repeatedly, right? If you make a big commitment to a goal today, okay, hey, brain, this goal matters. And that's good. But I want to, over the long haul, I want to make sure I keep my brain focused on my goal, because my brain wants to only focus on what matters most to me. Our brains are really good at that. So I got to keep this front and center so my brain will call my attention, just like with those cars. I'm seeing the car everywhere I go. My brain will call my attention to those things that can move me closer to my goal.